Hey there. You may have heard this tiny indie game. It's called Deepwoken, and I hate it. I don't get why people play this game. Okay, that's a lie. I know why people who play it like it. Deepwoken is a game that is so riddled with a toxic community and people who just enjoy ruining the game for other people. And these people will go and call you all sorts of shit. The amount of ego a Deepwoken player has would make the sin of pride envious of them. It is so fucking bad, but I'm mostly talking about the community right now and not the game. And I will get there, but I want to talk about the game's design choices that make me question my decision to have even bought this game. When you first get into Deepwoken, if you haven't spent the $5 on it, you already expect a PvP game, and in my opinion, that's inherently a bad thing. Because the people who play Deep for this reason will not expect anything else from it. They expect a tight and rewarding combat game. If you are not this person, you might have been baited into believing that Deepwoken is a game with much to explore and see. Maybe the game's OST piqued your interest. I doubt most people who get into the game these days play for its world, music, or its PvE though. Lack of major PvE content and failing of promoting these updates really fails to gather new people for Deep's world and PvE. Anyways, let's say you get into Deepwoken by yourself because you have disposable income and you are retarded enough to pay money for a Roblox game. Something that never backfired on anybody's face in the history of this platform ever. You load in, you make your character, you try to explore the game, and then you get ass fucked by annoying people who have nothing better to do other than ruin other people's experience. You die, you go into the depths, you wipe, you realize you didn't do anything for a playthrough you had, and hopefully quit the game by this point. If you are stupid enough to continue, you will realize in time how bad this game truly gets. From its PvP to its PvE, its non-existent meta progression to the design choices made by the developers. This game just makes me angry. Anyways, we talked about the average freshie experience. You start, you wipe and quit. If you haven't quit the game by now, what the fuck are you doing? Go play a better game, please. You probably want the PvP or just want to see what the world holds in store. If you're not a PvP player, you will realize that in this world, nothing happens. Okay, so if you have been looking through your UI, there's a little nifty thing right at the top of your screen showing the in-game year that you are playing in. For reference, this calendar has been going by upwards of 400 years since the game's release, of nearly over 3 years ago. And since then, nothing notable in the world has happened since the release of Layer 2 in the world. What does that mean? That means the Duke of Erysia, Lord Reagan, and the fucking Maestro are immortal. Not only that, every NPC and slot you have is immortal. Unless they die in the depths. Oh yeah, the depths. We can't continue this video without talking about the... Deepwoken is a difficult game with permanent character loss. More like, Deepwoken is a bullshit game that will make you frustrated and punish you for making the mistake of playing this game. By killing your character that you probably spent hours, maybe sometimes days with. It can even be months or even years that you spend time with this character. The permadeath mechanic in this game is laughable. It's just an excuse to make you lose hours on a shitty game and serve zero purpose other than to make you quit the game. Or play it long enough to develop a Stockholm syndrome. Okay, so here's how the permadeath mechanic in this game works. When you first spawn in, you have 2 lives. Whenever you level up, if you have lost a life, you regain said life. If you only have 1 life, you are considered stained. When you die while stained, you go into the depths, which is just hell. When you are in the depths, you can get out by 2 ways. Wishing it from Yunshul or beat a trial that the game sets for you, depending on the amount of times you died while stained and your level. Die in the depths and your character is gone for good. Unless you pay, like, I don't know, 1000 Robux to the shrine. Now, here's why this mechanic is badly thought out and implemented. As I have already complained about, there is no, and I mean absolutely no reason for this mechanic to exist other than to make you lose time. There's no incentive to gain from wiping. You only lose time and gain nothing valuable. Usually in a roguelike game, when you die, you can get back into the place you died in about 40 minutes tops, if it's a late game area. And when you die, you both learn more about the game, discover new stuff, and gain some sort of a meta progression. And on top of that, the map is usually randomly generated, so it's not the same exact layout. There's still new stuff to see. In Dead Cells, you collect cells to pay this blue motherfucker for new weapons and sometimes skins. And enter the gungeon, you unlock weapons by simply playing the game and doing some side quests. And when you beat bosses, you get a special currency that you can use in the lobby of the game to buy new items. In both of these examples, you gain something by playing and dying, whether that be simply learning about the game, new weapons to play with, or sometimes new areas to discover and new enemies to deal with. Now, you might be saying, Deepwoken isn't a roguelike. What are you talking about, Unk? And yes, I 100% agree with you. None of the stuff I say makes sense, because there are no roguelike mechanics in this game that make roguelikes fun, so why the fuck is permadeath an addition to the game? Is the only reason for permadeath to exist is to get the player base of Rogue Lineage to hop on this game. That is the only reason I could come up with. Permadeath is the most stupid thing that could have ever been added to this game, and only serves to artificially increase the difficulty of the game. Can I just say that the developers have no understanding of what difficulty is? The amount of stuff that artificially increase difficulty in this game is crazy. Permadeath is mostly the core of this problem though. Anyways, there's some other stuff I want to talk about the game before we talk about the general community of the game. This game has one of the worst planned out PvEs in any game I played. For comparison, I'm going to bring up Sekiro, the father of this shitty parry-based genre of games that keep cloning Deepwoken. When you get into a fight in Sekiro, it's a brick wall that you need to get through. After each death, you understand the game a little better. You start reading, reacting, learning the brick wall, studying it. And when it's said and done, you get through the brick wall until you get to the next bigger brick wall. The game is made up of a bunch of difficult bosses, and these bosses, even if it may not seem like that, have a pattern to everything they do. Their moves are consistent. Of course they mix and match some stuff to give you the illusion of it not having any pattern, but the more you play the game, the more you go up against that boss, you understand and start mastering it. And if you go all out, it becomes a dance of blades that you ultimately win. That's why Sekiro is so satisfying to play and is fun while being a consistently difficult game. Now in Deepwoken, none of the bosses have patterns and you are only ever going to face up against one move at a time. And sometimes the most optimal way to beat the boss only makes you go up against 3 of his moves rather than his whole kit. And sometimes the boss has only 3 moves. The bosses in this game are easy as hell if you know what you're doing, and you most likely do know what you're doing because you're either getting boosted by a friend before you face up against a boss so you don't die, or you look up a guide on how to beat a boss to not die. And the sad thing is, this whole PvE boss issue revolves back into permadeath, artificial difficulty. Because if permadeath didn't exist and you simply had to do a run back to the boss, you would much more likely face up the brick wall and find its weak point yourself, rather than look up a guide and circumvent the challenge that the game sets up for you. But not only that, as I just said, the bosses in this game have no fucking moves, okay? Whoever was planning these bosses must have realized that if they did actually have difficult, fun, and interesting bosses, people wouldn't put up with it and just quit the game or simply don't do the bosses because of the permadeath mechanic. The punishment of death is absurdly high for the risk of minimal rewards in this game. And I really do mean there's no true reward for beating any bosses in the game. Not counting the Heart of Enmity and Elder Permadown, those motherfuckers just shit out relics. Another problem I have with this game's PvE is monster gameplay. I don't think anybody even does the diluvian mechanism anymore, but it embodies the biggest problem I have with this game's PvE, and it's the monster gangs. If you are making a PvE build in this game, you will just be getting the biggest AoE multi-hit mantras, and that's it. You don't have to learn any monster's move in this game, as long as you stat check it. And more than likely, you are meant to be stat checking it if you want to survive. Because if there are multiple monsters chasing after you, you won't be able to take them out one by one or have an interesting 3v1 where you have to balance between multiple enemies. Now they'll just fucking jump your ass, and you don't have to give a thought into anything you do in this scenario anyway. You just spam mantras and M1s, and more than likely one of the mobs will be a health pack for you, and you'll be on your merry way to kill the other two monsters. That's pretty much the PvE of Deepwoken. Either two easy boss fights that can be considered hard because of the permadeath mechanics, or bosses just batshit insane like Maestro that it becomes unfair, and mob spam. A lot of mob spam. Anyways, let's talk about... Okay, so the PvE sucks, but is the world any good? Well, the game has some interesting looking lore, but that's about it. It only looks interesting, but I doubt you'll be able to even find the said lore to have opinions on it. Okay, a lot of people don't actively look into lore, they care more about what you can do in the world, I think. And that's also a big ol' nothing. There's one quest in the entire fucking game. Every other quest in the game is a side quest that is basically just go kill this thing or go get me this type of thing. There isn't even any story to them. You just do them, or rather you don't do them, because there is no reward for any quest in the game other than like free, which give you a mantra or a talent hand, and that's really it. Okay, but I mentioned one quest in the game. So, how is it? Well, it's unfinished. No, I'm not joking, it's the Duke quest, and after you beat Duke, the Duke just comes back to its original spot like nothing happened after 2 fucking seconds, and you just kill him again and again and again and again and again and again. Nothing in the fight even changes. This is my biggest problem with the quest in the game and the world of Deepwoken. It just forces itself to be unchanging. Layer 2, there's a time loop. Duke, he escaped the depths. Duke, he escapes the depths 2 seconds after you kill him. Ferryman, you don't kill him. Kaido, actually this isn't the Dread Serpent. You just fight one of the thousands of Dread Serpents. Primadon. There's an infinite amount of Primadons or something, man. I don't fucking know. It has no lore! Your actions in the world doesn't matter, and the game doesn't even give you the options to have actions or choices. You just go through the motions of errand quests, or your victims just escape the depths. There's zero meaningful impact you have in the world of Deepwoken. I know it's an online game and not a single player, so you just can't have certain stuff that I want. But come on, man! Why can't we do anything in this game but fail to murder people who we fight? The only impact you will have in this game is being an annoying bitch in the depths and wiping players. That is just so fucking boring! This game has zero interesting quests, zero impacting decisions that you can make, 19 undying fucking bosses. Are you fucking kidding with me? So far my complaints have been about boring PvE and a constant world that does not change whatsoever. And the PvP in this game, in my opinion, is also really bad. Okay, I'm not good at all in this game's PvP, and you can call me bad, make fun of me for it, whatever. But the fact is, unless you are ganking with a bunch of people, you cannot have fun in this game's PvP. Void walking mechanically doesn't work. Chime of Conflict is so bad and riddled with boring clone trooper ass builds that utilize the same bullshit. And if you want to get into PvP, you must have all meta mantras with the fastest windup in the history of video games that you need to react in time if you want to defend yourself, and people stack them on top of each other so you can't parry anything. The consequences of missing one parry in this game is devastating, and it just makes the game really boring to play and frustrating. If you can lose nearly half of your HP for making one mistake, then that game is bullshit. There's no proper way to regenerate your health in this game either. Also, can somebody explain to me why Shaky Block exists? If you don't know, Shaky Block is a mechanic in the game that stops you from blocking if you take damage. Why does this exist? What is the purpose of even blocking? If I miss a parry, then I no longer want to block, and if I block, then I want to minimize the damage I am going to take. The game takes away my options and leaves me in a stupid losing game. Also, for some reason, Deepwoken just loves to take away control from the player and force you into dumbass situations. There are multiple mantras and crits that if you get out of or go into it at the last second, the mantra or the crit just teleports you in front of the person who casts it and forces you to parry their next move. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but there's an abundance of broken looking mantras and crits that feels so jarring to play against. I always question if the game is even working properly. Flame Hero Blade crit, Grand Sudurusco crit, Rising Frost, and this stuff has been like this for as long as I can remember. It is insane how many broken looking stuff there are in this game, and an insane amount of not working talents. And this kind of leads me into my next point. Deepwoken PvP is very much build versus build rather than skill versus skill. Of course, if you can parry more than your opponent, you will win, but if you are in similar skill levels with your opponent, if you win or not is entirely determined by who lands their cheese first. If you manage to utilize their cheese build first, then, well, you won. It's just over. Your opponent's only option is to die. The amount of broken cheese that you can do in this game is baffling. You cannot just use whatever that looks cool. No, you gotta get the moves with the fastest windup ever, or use some bullshit in the game that force your opponent to stand still and tank a move that hits like a truck. And if you ever dare to win your match, my god, you are the greatest sinner of them all. If you have ever dared to win against your opponent, you will call upon the Horde. You will face the ego trip, toxicity, calling names and stores, death threats, and doxing. You name it, we got it, baby. As a whole, the community that actively plays Deepwoken is the most insufferable motherfuckers on the planet of Earth. These people are just itching to ruin your experience in any way they can find, and if they lose, you bet your ass they are spinning back in a different slot or with a gang of people. If they lose the battle they started, if you did the slightest slip up of teabagging their corpse or some other bullshit, they will report you and get you banned off the game, or at least attempt to. These people are the most insufferable motherfuckers on the planet, and they will not take any responsibility for anything they do. Have you ever looked into the ban appeals channel in the Deepwoken Discord server? These people get banned for either the dumbest shit ever, like teabagging, or they get banned for actual crimes, like doxing, and appeal to get unbanned from the game? What? Buddy, what do you think the mod's gonna do to you after you have been banned for doxing and death threats? You're gonna stay fucking banned. You shouldn't even be trying to get unbanned. You should just fuck off and come back in an alt account at worst. In what world do you think the mods are gonna let you play this game again? It's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking tiring. And it is so annoying. Playing this game makes me lose hope from humanity on a different level. Also, can I talk about the YouTubers? I know content creators of this game don't play it out of their enjoyment or make content because of it. They make content for money, and they always make the most cookie cutter, copy paste shit content ever. Is this the best boss rating build ever? Revealing my God Seeker build. Guys, I have the best build. Here it is. Just join my Discord that you can't even access before you are subscribed. And for some reason, the Discord server has more people in it than the subscribers that the YouTuber has. I feel like the content creators and people who play this game are a hive mind of retards that repeat the exact same bullshit. And the content creators just feed into that, in my opinion. Overall, the game is badly designed. PvE and PvP is not fun, and the world is unchanging and unmoving. For a game that looks like it should be evolving over time, you don't and cannot matter in this game in any way. And the more you play, the more you feel like you wasted your time. The more I play this game, the more I question, why am I even playing this game right now? Because the truth is, unless you have a group of people to play this game with, there's no point in playing this game whatsoever. And the recent PvE updates is proof that the devs do not understand how to make a fun and balanced, but still hard PvE content for this game. So they just make raid content. The reason why the recent Titus boss was good and fun wasn't because it was actually good. It's because it was content that you can do with your friends. And if you don't have friends to play this shitty game with, you will not enjoy anything in this game. Deepwoken, for being such an empty game, it's also a very social experience. If you don't have friends to play with, there's just nothing. It's just a frustrating game with nothing to it. That's why I call ganking the most fun part of PvP. It's good because you are with friends, and at that point you can most likely escape the depths and easily have spent countless hours in this game. It's like those shitty Bloxfruit games. It's only good if you have spent hours of your time, or if you have friends to play with. If you check the Deepwoken player counts these days, it's at an all-time low, and in my opinion the main reason for this isn't because of the game's lack of updates, it's rather because there are no new players that are actively getting into Deepwoken. If you get into Deepwoken, it's probably because of a friend and you get straight into PvP. If you're a regular person, you're not getting into Deepwoken by yourself. That is just highly unlikely. You get in, you vibe, you realize the progression takes hours and can be lost that easily, and you give up playing the game. The only people who are playing Deepwoken right now are the PvP side of the player base, and those people are either grinding Chime or ganking. If you don't have new players that are getting into the game and enjoy it, there won't be anybody that plays this game over time. That's why weekly updates are slowly killing the game. These updates are only a focus point so that every week the PvP side of the game can get in, kill some people, and quit when they get bored again. It's just a band-aid solution. The Deepwoken in its current state is slowly eating itself alive, and there isn't anything that's being done about it. That's why I always look out for new world-building NPCs and new PvE content, new bosses, and new places to explore. If there are more places to look for, a new player will be more interested in the game and think, what else lays beyond? If there are more interesting quests, a new player will want to see more of the game. And if the game was more welcoming, a new player would more likely to stay and play your game. If you're a solo player in Deepwoken, you cannot enjoy the last few major PvE content updates in the game. Titus, Elder Premodon, Heart of Enmity. It all needs a group of people, and Deepwoken is updating knowing that there are probably isn't a whole bunch of solo players just itching to come back into the game. The game keeps getting updates to appeal to the players who are already playing the game and makes no effort to gather in new players. And the player base makes an active effort to ruin people's playthroughs and possibly make them quit for good. This is not a good thing. If there aren't new people getting into the game's community over time becomes a circle jerk. And anybody who isn't a part of the bubble gets met with toxicity. They will not play your game and won't be associating with your community. The game's current state is slowly killing itself, and the developers probably realizing this is just doing weekly updates to feed and keep making the machine work in order to make as much money as possible until a community for your game dies and you no longer make money. Deepwoken is a dying game that deserves so much more. More than this community and more than what it has become. Okay, here's some bullet points that I noted that I don't think I mentioned in the script. Permadeath makes the game unfun to replay because of slow progression. The slow progression and the recent changes to the job board system basically killed the PvP side of the game too, because making builds became a whole lot more tedious. Unless it's consensual to do so, wiping cannot be good for the game. This is not a fucking roguelike, why is permadeath present? The game lacks player agency in the Borderlands story. You cannot do anything in the game, so it fucking sucks. For a game that looks like an RPG, it has zero possible inputs from the player. Again, you cannot do anything in the game. Also supposedly big, considering it's an oath of your life path, and breaking them means a Jan Scholvish. also have no story relevance other than the contractor making you dive an enemy and stopping you from using one weapon, which can easily be circumvented. The game doesn't have a story to tell. As a main character, the player character lacks more personality than a silent protagonist. It's just actually stupid how they managed to screw this up. Your character has more knowledge than the player. Multiple times in the game, my character was able to say stuff that it just made me question, when the fuck did my character even know about it? For a supposed blank slate main character, our character seems to have his own undistinguished character, yet we can't see any of it. This makes the player character an unexplored character in the world and not a silent protagonist. However, because other than the times my character says shit that I don't even have knowledge on, the player character is just existing with no discernible opinions or characteristics of his own. And I know you're supposed to choose your own shit to say, but it still doesn't make sense, bro. Tempo is just get out of jail free card with no depth to it. It only serves as a reward for playing good, so you get to escape an attack for some reason. The game balances around professionals and high tiers. This overall is just a bad idea. Trying players have no idea what balanced game is. No, seriously, who the fuck thought of shaky block? If I have the posture, I should have this option to block. Blocking is inherently taking risks anyway.